Welcome back. Is it time to offload crypto and get out of the markets? That is what we are going to be discussing in today's video. We're getting calls from Peter Brandt saying that the charting is showing a potentially lower price by the end of 2025 than where we are in basically the middle of the year. We're also hearing from Coinbase and many others in the industry calling a potential drop in the market and basically a recession. And if we have a recession in the real economy, what does that mean for the crypto economy as we've basically come straight down for most of the first half of 2025? And while this is going on, the question is crypto going higher or is now the time to sell? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. Make sure you guys give the video a free thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be going through the data, going through the charts, and going through differing opinions in the market. That way we can kind of formulate our own investment strategy and thesis and understand, is crypto right for me at this point in the cycle? Now, we're going to be starting right here with Lynn Alden lowers her Bitcoin forecast after the tariff kerfuffle and eyes liquidity. Well, lowering the Bitcoin forecast. I mean, we are not, listen, guys, I have said on this channel effectively since I've been back in 2025 that I believe we're going to have one more pump in the market. I could be wrong on this. I definitely could be wrong. But what I'm seeing is really bearish sentiment kind of permeating throughout the crypto ecosystem. Not only crypto ecosystem, but the trading ecosystem as well. And we're going to be going through those Peter Brand tweets in just a little bit and then really understand what is going on in the rest of the market, because I still believe that there is going to be one more pump potentially. And the fact that we're starting to see some altcoins kind of pumping up out of nowhere, and based on nothing, no announcements, no launches of new technology, just kind of random pumps, and then we do see drops after. This is typically indicative of a market that's kind of rotating. So we may be actually rotating and or in the bear market already. And so kind of understanding all sides of the issue and all sides and all opinions, in my view, this is the best way to do your investment research, because you can take all of the pros, all the cons, and all the neutrals, put them together and formulate your own opinion. Macroeconomist Lynn Alden expects Bitcoin to finish 2025 higher than its current price of 85,000, though she says it would have been much higher if not for the tariff announcements back a few months ago. She said, quote, "Before all this tariff kerfuffle, I would have had a higher price target. My guess is now we end up higher at the end of the year than we are now, at least." However, she said there's a massive liquidity unlock, which could be a catalyst needed for Bitcoin to reach more optimistic targets, similar to those before the tariffs were introduced. For example, if the US bond market broke and the US Federal Reserve had to step in to do measures like yield curve control, basically buying the debt market, heavy quantitative easing, this could potentially turn things around. So here's the deal, guys. I mean, there is a point here, all of whether we move on from the tariffs or this is a kind of a long-standing thing, it doesn't really matter. This is still going to take time to kind of resolve itself in the economy and also in the markets, because remember, the markets are forward thinking. We are going to be hearing from the Federal Reserve in May 6th and 7th. I think 7th is when they're going to let us know what they're going to be doing. I would imagine, I know there's a lot of people who are saying that they're not going to cut still. I believe they will cut or give us guidance that most likely the next meeting they will cut. I do think they're going to at least give guidance of a cut, if not actual cut. Now, is the market going to move higher based on that? I don't know, because the Federal Reserve did cut at the end of 2024, and guess what? The markets did go higher. But then when the market realized that the Federal Reserve was not doing any more cuts for a while, those kind of cuts in the interest rates were just to see what goes on. The markets did not like it, and we are still feeling that months later, right? We're almost 6 months since that November high in much of the crypto markets. And this, as Coinbase has already given their warning. I did a separate video specifically on the Coinbase research conversation, because according to Coinbase research in the institutional department or business over at Coinbase, they are saying that we are potentially in a bear market already. According to Coinbase's monthly outlook for institutional investors, the altcoin market shrank by 41% from December. And that was the overall market cap they're talking about. And so basically, Coinbase had several converging signals, maybe pointing to the start of a new crypto winter as some extreme negative sentiment has set in due to the onset of global tariffs and potential for further escalations. The report notes that lower venture capitalist interest significantly limits the onboarding of new capital into the ecosystem, which is also felt primarily in the altcoin sector. The cause of that, according to them, is the current macroeconomic environment. Coinbase analysts said, quote, all of these structural pressures stem from the uncertainty of the broader macro environment, where traditional risk assets have faced sustained headwinds from fiscal tightening and tariff policies, contributing to the paralysis in investment decision making. And so we may already be in a crypto winter. Listen, in my view, during these market rotations, you see a lot of movement in the market. The other thing is we're not seeing a kind of a longer term, right? In 2020, basically we saw the uptrend in the market all the way through the end of the bull run in 2021. There was really no lull. There were some corrections and some dips, but what we saw happening back then was we saw a dip in one crypto and then we saw a pump in another. So it was kind of balanced, meaning there was always something going on. And right now in crypto, everything is down. And really, there are a few coins that are beginning to pump, but we're not seeing the sustained or validating rallies in many of these coins. I mean, Ethereum is a perfect example, right? One of the most widely used, highly developed, and technologically advanced chains on the planet hasn't even reached its all-time record high, and it may not. That's something that we have to consider as well. And so it goes back to the question: do I sell my crypto? Do I get out of the markets now with the anticipation that the market is going lower? Well, I mean, I'm still a market bull, so I actually think the market's going higher over the longer term. So it really doesn't matter to me what happens in the short term. Obviously, I would like the price to 10x in the short term, take profits, wait for the correction, and then buy back in. That may not happen, right? And we have to constantly evaluate our investment thesis and strategy to make sure that it aligns with the market that we have, not the market that we want. Because if you're trading the market that you want, you're going to lose. You have to trade the market that you have. And so taking all that into account, I feel a little bit bearish, right? Based on what we're hearing from the analysts. But you guys know, if you watch my videos, I don't just take analysts or expert opinions. I take a combination of differing opinions. Well, let's go to Peter Brandt. Wait, Peter Brandt is also bearish, it seems. He says the red dots are where I think we end the year in 2025. S&P 500, the yen, and 10-year bonds. Now, I'm not going to go through every single tweet in this thread. I'm going to go through the ones that I think are important to look at. This is the S&P 500, basically the stock index. And he is showing a red dot down to basically about 45,000. At the top, we were at 6,000. That would be a 2,500, 15, what kind of math am I doing? From 6,000 to 4,500 is 1,500 point drop by the end of the year, and basically saying that we're going to end the year lower. It's very rare that you end a year lower. Typically, we see markets end the year higher, but this is what Peter Brandt is thinking here. Well, what does he think about Bitcoin? Well, he's saying he doesn't think anything about this, but this is what the chart suggests is possible at the end of 2025. 2026, you can see right here. I mean, I know it's a little bit small on the screen, but this is the 2026 line, so the end of 2025, and he's putting a red dot at the bottom of this SMA. I think that's the SMA, or the moving average right here. The 8-week moving average or the SMA. I don't know what this line is, but either way, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good because it looks like we're going to end the year at 84,000. Now, there is still time, right? We still have half a year from now until this red dot. If this comes true, if it validates what the chart is saying, I mean, we can go above this, but if you go back in time and look at the historical charting of Bitcoin does stay within these lines, and it could break out, obviously, but this is what he believes, that we're going to end up basically at 80, maybe below 84,000 by the end of this year, because this dotted line is 84,000. So this is probably $60,000. Now, if this could happen, guys, I mean, we could see a parabolic move to the upside now, or within the next 6 months, and then we end lower. This is totally possible, especially if the tariff situation doesn't resolve, if the geoeconomic conflicts with, all these countries that are at W with each other, right? That could continue. And if it does, that's going to be kind of a net negative, and the market isn't going to like it. And again, maybe the president is doing this so that year one isn't the best year and then year two and three suck. Maybe he's doing it so year one sucks and year two maybe sucks, but year three and four are great. And then everybody's happy and forgets the years that sucked. I don't know. I don't know why we're not seeing the markets kind of move in a bullish direction, understanding kind of the macro picture of what is trying to be accomplished from the new world of finance, from the stock market, and all of real finance. Peter Brand is saying that gold, the market with the magic touch, meaning that he believes that gold is going to end this year higher than where we are now. And this is one of the only charts that he posted, which was going to be higher. So again, this is not necessarily his opinion. This is what the charts are telling him and what he's analyzing it from the charts. And so what most people think is when gold goes higher, Bitcoin's going to follow it. But that's not what we have seen. In 2020, that's not what we saw. It was actually kind of an inverse correlation, right? An opposite correlation to where Bitcoin was moving in gold. We're seeing Bitcoin follow the stock market more than it's following gold or these other type of, stores of wealth or assets like that. But it could be an indicator that money may be moving into gold because they think that that's the safest thing because, we don't really know where this whole crypto and Bitcoin thing is going to go. But again, things can change overnight, right? I mean, they can come out tomorrow and say we're buying 1 million Bitcoin per day or $1 million of Bitcoin a day for the rest of, the United States' future. And this could drive the price up fairly substantially as well. So there's a lot of like differing opinions. I mean, even Peter Brandt commented on XRP. He said in everyone's favorite XRP. So the dot would either be basically where we're at today. And he's looking at this on a market cap basis. This is not on the price. So keep that in mind because if Ripple continues to sell potentially hundreds of millions of XRP onto the open market every single month from their escrow account, that increases the circulating supply. And increasing the circulating supply when the market cap stays the same means that your coins are devalued. And so he's looking at the market cap around where we are today or significantly lower around the $60 billion range. And XRP currently is at about $120 billion, which would mean a 50% reduction in the XRP price from where we are today through the end of the year. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but if we just look at Solana, it's likely that we will see 50% drops from all-time record highs in many of these cryptocurrencies at some point in the cycle and probably in the bear market as well. So these are very important kind of facts and things to think about when you're analyzing whether you need to sell your portfolio or not. I mean, nobody knows where the market is going, right? We may have ideas, but this is where you really have to kind of think of the longer term and really look at the geoeconomic picture of what is happening around the world, right? We have the Bitcoin president who's investing personally in crypto and DeFi, and we have all the regulatory agencies on board with crypto. We have a crypto czar, we have a Bitcoin strategic reserve, a crypto strategic reserve. We have states all around the nation trying to pass Bitcoin strategic reserves. I mean, I don't know how much more bullish you can get on than that, but there are some indicators that this whole narrative about Bitcoin being the best kind of currency in the world and that it's going to overtake the dollar, there are a lot of facts and data to show that this may not actually be the case. So let's get into that. And by the way, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of videos on this channel that you guys can enjoy and learn about crypto. Some of these are kind of in the moment videos where we're talking about what's happening in the moment. But a lot of my videos are really talking about strategy and thinking and analyzing the market. So even if you see one of these videos after the fact or from last year or 6 months ago, don't say, oh, well, it's no longer relevant, because the conversations that we're having are relevant regardless of where the market is. And that's really what I am trying to put out on this channel, like what my investment thesis and strategy and how I come to these thesis and strategies about the market and, trying to invest in the best possible way with the highest potential returns. Now, obviously there's risk involved and, some of these do not work out. But I remind you, all of these, crypto billionaire story, oh, this one made, $80 million on the PP coin, or this one made $90 million in Shiba Inu. It's like, that does happen, but it's very, very, very rare. But people see those stories and they're like, I want to become a Shiba Inu millionaire, I want to be you know, Doge Elon Mars millionaire or BitGet token millionaire. It's like that's not going to happen, right? So you really have to understand, and have an investment strategy and thesis for the way in, dollar cost averaging in, and also dollar cost averaging out, or just exiting the market if you see the risk is too high. And that's what we're talking about today. Is the risk too high? Well, having a little coffee break here. What are you guys drinking? I got some black coffee. I actually got a Colombian coffee from this like Colombian restaurant the other day. And the way they made it was the most interesting way I've ever seen. And it was probably the best coffee that I've ever had, like ever. Anyway, moving right along, we are also seeing this, right? So remember what I was talking about, the narrative about Bitcoin, that it's going to become a currency. Well, in El Salvador, they tested this out, and a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of investors went there with their money, with their talents, with their ideas to, build out. I mean, that's, I imagine, what El Salvador was doing a lot of this Bitcoin for, bring more investment in, be open, let's see what we can do with this. Well, now we're hearing only 11% of El Salvador's registered Bitcoin firms are operational. Only 20 of the 181 Bitcoin service providers registered in El Salvador with the central bank are operational, with the rest failing to meet the country's requirements under the Bitcoin law. Local media outlets cited data from the Central Reserve Bank of El Salvador showing that 11% of the service providers are operational, according to the central bank's database. The rest are classified as non-operational. They showed that at least 22 non-operational providers have failed to meet the country's Bitcoin law requirements, which mandate the providers implement stringent supervision of their financial systems. So they're talking about AML, KYC, all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is here is, one, El Salvador just took out a loan from the IMF, and the IMF basically told them they can't buy more Bitcoin. Well, the El Salvador president seems to not really care, and they're continuing to buy one Bitcoin per day. From the last I saw, they're still buying it. And I think that they moved too. I don't think the world was ready for Bitcoin as a currency, right? Most of the world didn't even look, and still doesn't look at Bitcoin as an investment, right? It's still viewed as a speculative investment or a speculative gamble. And in certain ways it is, but so is the stock market. I mean, I can invest in Tesla today, and then the media runs this campaign against Elon Musk and the price goes down. I could buy Apple today, and then, they say the China tariffs are going to, put the company out of business, and then the stock goes down. So there's risk in stocks as well. There's risk in buying a home. There's risk in almost any asset that you buy. I mean, there's still people who buy diamonds as an asset. It's like, diamonds are not rare anymore. They're just not. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, with El Salvador. I just don't think El Salvador was, I don't think the world was ready for Bitcoin as a currency, right? And I'm glad that they tried it, but I think that they just kind of went so quick in that it just didn't catch on the way that many people thought it would. It's the same thing with what we're seeing with MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy keeps buying more and more Bitcoin, and basically no other company is doing it, right? GameStop may do it, but that's a last-ditch effort. It's like Blockbuster buying Bitcoin right before Blockbuster went bankrupt. You have the Bitcoin mining companies buying Bitcoin. That kind of makes sense. That's their business. But other than that, nobody's really buying Bitcoin the way that MicroStrategy is. Even Coinbase isn't doing it. Even Kraken isn't really doing it, right? None of these crypto companies are really, none of them are taking out debt to buy Bitcoin. And so MicroStrategy is alone there. And by the way, I don't think that we're going to hear of any other companies doing it. And if they do, it's going to be very, very little. And it's going to be the cash that they already have. Nobody's taking out debt to buy Bitcoin. Not this cycle, at least. And so where does that leave MicroStrategy? Where does that leave us? Where does that leave the holders? And more importantly, where does this leave the market? Here's the deal, guys. MicroStrategy is like 4 steps removed from like the first liquidation call. So I want you guys to think about this. If somebody's or a company, right, is like kind of dabbling in MicroStrategy or dabbling in crypto, most likely they're in the stock market. They're not in crypto, right? So if they're in non-crypto related assets, that means if they need money for whatever, margin call, they're not making money in their business, they need to cover some of it, whatever it is, they're not pulling from their stocks. They're pulling from their smallest position. right? They're kind of risk position. They're like, well, I'm gonna buy in, see, hopefully I'll make $1 million. If I don't, whatever. It's just a loss. That's the money that they're going to take to cover the margin calls or to cover, the expenses or their business or whatever. They're not taking their stocks that they've been holding for years, especially if they're just experimental in crypto. And so what we're going to see is these higher risk assets to these traditional investors. These are going to be the first things to go. And then you think anything built on top of Bitcoin or that moves based on the price of Bitcoin, those are going to be also offloaded first, right? Because so if somebody thinks the Bitcoin price is going to go down and they have Bitcoin, a MicroStrategy, and stocks, what do you think they're going to sell first? In my view, I would sell MicroStrategy because it's a levered play on Bitcoin. Then I would sell the Bitcoin and then I would sell the stocks. That's what I would do if I was like an institutional investor or a billionaire. And so that is a huge risk for MicroStrategy. And here's the deal. If people start to sell MicroStrategy, including MicroStrategy, if they sell it because they said they will to purchase more Bitcoin. But if we start to see a massive sell-off of MicroStrategy, that's going to have a ripple effect, pun intended, on Bitcoin. And so MicroStrategy is a risk for Bitcoin. It 100% is. And the fact that no other companies are following the MicroStrategy plan, it doesn't mean that what they're doing is not going to work. It's just saying that the other companies don't think the risk reward is there. And that is concerning, right? Even the crypto companies are not really doing what MicroStrategy is doing. And so, yeah, MicroStrategy is a risk here. El Salvador, I think that we're past the point where it would be a risk. Like if it was in the middle of a bull run and then people were like, oh yeah, nobody's using Bitcoin in El Salvador. Oh yeah, the IMF is telling El Salvador they can't buy more Bitcoin. Only 10% of the Bitcoin firms are operational. That would probably be a hit to Bitcoin and the price. But because we're already in a lull, I don't think that it's really having the effect that it could have had if we were in an uptrending market. So that is something to kind of keep in mind, that I think that this is already priced into the Bitcoin price. I don't think that it matters whether El Salvador's plan is working or not, or whether their strategy of Bitcoin is working or not, because it's a test environment for this whole Bitcoin as a currency type of deal. The same way that MicroStrategy is a huge experiment, whether taking out debt to buy Bitcoin is going to work. And if it does work, it's great and everybody's going to do really well financially. But if it doesn't, everybody gets wrecked, not just MicroStrategy. You holding Bitcoin, you holding altcoins are going to get wrecked, right? If MicroStrategy falls. That's scary. But there is light. Because whenever we see downfalls in the market, by the way, here's another example. Corporate Bitcoin holdings hit record high in Q1 of 2025 as public companies accelerate the accumulation. Now, crypto advocates, right, crypto maximalists would look at this and say, you see, and they would send it to all their friends, all their family, and say, you see, institutions are buying crypto, institutions are buying crypto. But like I just said to you guys, right, it's not really that many companies that are buying crypto. Bitrise is reporting a 16% quarter-over-quarter surge in Bitcoin holdings among public companies fueled by regulatory changes and bold moves from Strategy, Semler, Scientific, and GameStop. So 16% increase quarter-over-quarter is a lot. But again, it's only by these companies that are just doing this. GameStop is doing this as a last-ditch effort. Here's the deal, guys. If GameStop buys this Bitcoin, which they probably are doing or have already done, if they buy this Bitcoin and they file bankruptcy, guess what happens? Bitcoin gets liquidated. Guess what happens to the price of Bitcoin? Liquidated. Well, not liquidated, but it's going to go down. I mean, how can you not see that? How can you not see that it's a last-ditch effort? And personally, like, if they weren't potentially going to be buying billions and billions of dollars worth, I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with it. But the fact that GameStop is buying billions and billions of dollars at the top of the market to follow MicroStrategy's plan to buy Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset over the course of time. But if the GameStop doesn't really have any business behind them, right, because their business is effectively no longer relevant, this is a last-ditch effort. I don't want a company playing with my investment and my retirement for a last-ditch effort so that they don't become a blockbuster and irrelevant because they did not plan or do anything to their business over the last few years to bring it up to speed. Like if they started buying Bitcoin years ago, that's a different story. They're literally buying it now or talking about buying it now as a last ditch effort to save the company from going bankrupt. I mean, that seems like more risk than strategy buying Bitcoin. But again, there is positives. Remember what we were talking about last week. Ergo, the cryptocurrency was an altcoin. The price roller coaster from a 10x to an 80% drop. Now, I did a few videos on Ergo as the coin was pumping. And I told my viewers, I said, this is going to pump until it doesn't. I don't know when that doesn't is, but when it hits, it's going to drop the price substantially. And that's exactly what we saw. Over the 1 month, we saw the price of Ergo go from 5 cents all the way up to over 50 cents, right? We'll just say 50 cents, so 10x, over 10x, but it went 10x. That's amazing. You don't get this in any other assets anywhere. But here's the deal. On the way up, when you get 10x, when you get 5x, are you selling or are you waiting and waiting and waiting? Because if you keep waiting, this is what happens. You go up 10x and then boom, 90% back down. And so we went from 5 cents to 50 cents back down to 10 cents within hours. Within hours. So number one, yes, this could happen to any asset. Obviously, the Ergo pump was based on an improvement proposal that was going to be implementing AI. But again, this is an announcement of an announcement, right? They're not actually launching anything or have technology already developed that's going to blow OpenAI out of the water. So why is it pumping? We're going to see a lot of this, I believe, in the rotation phase, which I think we're already in. I mean, when we see this, we're in rotation. So that means that we're in rotation, right? We are seeing it with some other coins as well. Some coins are going up and down like crazy. I think if we just click gainers or losers, we'll be able to see this. Yeah, I wish it had losers as well because it just has gainers. That's kind of odd. Because if you have losers, you can see that price movement, right? This one is up 900% on the 7 days, 900% in 24 hours. Yeah, this is a perfect example. CatX, the market cap is less than $1 million. The volume is $59,000. The price, look at this, up, down, up, down, up, down. And this is just based on liquidity, right? People buy and the price goes up and then the insiders sell immediately. So the price goes straight back down. That's a perfect example of how these pumps go. Obviously, a lot of these meme coins are still pumping and dumping, but we're starting to see the move from the meme coins into actual coins. Now, whether you like the coin or not, that's a different story, but that's what we're seeing. 125% up, 123% up, 100. Bitcoin ordinals, BTCS. Now, I don't know if this is the real coin or not or whatever. I don't know. I'm just showing you the price movements for this discussion. You can see here, it was at 11 cents at the beginning of April, and now it's at 35 cents. So from the bottom, 10 cents to 30 cents, it's 3.5x in just a few weeks. Now, is it going to come back down? Highly likely. I mean, the market cap is less than $10 million. Volume, half of the market cap. And what is this? What does this coin actually do? NFTs? Nobody's running to go play NFT game anymore and trading. Nobody's doing that. And so these pumps, like Friend Tech as well, 127% up on the week. This is altcoin season, guys. It's altcoin season. Now, I'm not saying go run and buy these altcoins so they pump 10x, right? I am a firm believer in more steady investments and more safer cryptos versus these highly risky assets. Because again, like with Ergo, if you don't exit at the right time, you lose all those gains. And so it's an emotional roller coaster, number one, which is very draining. But number two, it's a roller coaster with your money. And we're here to make money in these markets, right? We're trying to protect our retirement, make sure that we're able to retire. And so, yeah, we need to take those profits out. In my view, during this cycle, the profits that you take out, that's it. Do not replace it into the market. Because based on all the warnings that we're seeing and all of the concern that we're seeing about the bear market or that we're in a crypto winter, we may already be there, but during the rotation to get there, we're going to see volatility. And this volatility is what we need to effectively, exit the market in profit. And so this is where I say, like, in the like, you have to have an exit strategy. Start thinking now about what your exit numbers are. Are you going to exit at this number? Are you going to exit at this number? Are you going to exit a portion of your portfolio or your entire portfolio? But in my view, should I sell my crypto? I mean, the answer is yes. We are going to hit a bear market at some point. We may already be in the bear market. A lot of people are saying that this is a bear market, that this is going to be prolonged downside. But at the end of the day, we don't know. Nobody knows where this market is going. We just have to keep our eye on the risk, keep our eye on what the Federal Reserve is doing, and also watch how the market is pricing these things in. Because listen, in the bear market, everybody was so bullish. Bitcoin's going to hit $500,000, $1,000,000, 250,000, and now people are like, well, maybe it'll hit 150,000. I don't know. I mean, this could turn around very rapidly, and over the next 6 months, we just pump into oblivion, and then we reverse and we correct at the end of the year. That's very possible as well. But I do imagine we're going to see people changing their sentiment very rapidly from bearish to bullish as soon as we start going back up. If we go back over $100,000, everyone's going to be back into the bullish phase. But here's the deal. Because so many people are anticipating like not as high of a price target, and we're seeing price targets dropping, there's a lot of risk here because number one, if every price target is dropping, right, and everybody's bearish on the actual price of where the coin is going, there's a highly likelihood that as people sell, if we go up to $150,000, that will cause even more upside, because sometimes in selling pressure, the price actually goes higher, and sometimes in buying pressure, the price goes lower. We see this when MicroStrategy buys. Typically, when they announce it, the price goes down. Some of this could be the market pricing these things in. But if people are bearish at 150, like their targets are 150,000, that means when we hit 120,000, 130,000, 135,000, 140,000, they're going to be selling. And so we will probably not hit 150,000. Unless everybody's selling at the same time, then we can get this huge pump and go above, and then everyone's like, shit, I shouldn't have sold. I shouldn't have sold. And they rebuy in at higher prices. And meanwhile, we're the ones who are going to be selling them that coin. And then the price drops. So I don't know. When you zoom out on this chart, I mean, this is a very nice bowl here. This is potentially a cup and handle right here. And maybe it's already completed. I mean, you can clearly see a double top. I mean, even when we're not zoomed in, you can see the double top right here. This was in January of 2020, December into January of this year. And so if that is a double top, we've already had two legs to the upside. Cycle's over. I mean, if we look at 2021, it was two legs to the upside. That's it. Double top, double top. And so again, how can you tell me that this does not look very similar? I mean, it looks almost the same. In fact, the second setup, it looks like went higher than the first setup, where in the last cycle, both setups were basically close to that all-time high. So yeah, we may be at the end of the cycle already. We may be in that last downtrend, or we can reverse, flip up, hit a new all-time high, and then we can come down. I don't know, but all I know is, yes, as time goes on, the closer we are to a bear market, the closer we are to a crypto winter. It's just how long until we're there, or how long until we start to feel being there, and maybe we're already feeling that. So I don't know. I really don't know whether now is the time to sell, because we could have another 50% drop. I mean, even Peter Brandt's Bitcoin chart shows a potential, where is it? Right here. Yeah, it shows a potential. I don't know what that number is, but it looks like it's $40,000 price, which would be about a 50% drop from where we are today. And, do we really want to lose another 50% of our portfolio? The answer is no. Well, maybe it's time to lock in that number. But here's the deal. Like, if you sell and then the price goes double and then all the altcoins go 5x, you're going to be pretty upset as well. So we're kind of in this situation where a lot of people are kind of stuck. And this is an issue, because when you're stuck and you don't make a decision, you're making a decision. And so when we're looking at these markets and we are feeling like, wait, I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. I don't want to buy. I don't want to sell. I just want to hold. Maybe that's the best opportunity. Then you have to kind of walk away and just really not pay attention to the market. But in my view, this could be an opportunity. Number one, to look in your portfolio and keep track of your altcoin purchases and make sure that if one of those altcoins 5 or 10x's, you are pulling profits out. I'm not saying sell the whole position, but pull profits out. A lot of people are not going to do this, or they're going to reinvest their profits immediately and they're going to overtrade the market, right? Over leverage and over trading is really how people go to zero very rapidly. And so you got to pay attention to all these signals that are happening in the market, what Coinbase is saying, what Alden is saying, what Peter Brandt is saying, because they're all basically saying the same thing. None of them are giving timeline. Well, Peter Brandt is saying by the end of the year, but none of them are really giving timelines into how we achieve these targets or prices or but they're all basically saying that we are very close, if not already at the top of the market. And so with that, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments of the video. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. Do you think that we're at the top? Do you think that this is a double top up here? And do you think that this is the final double top of the cycle? Or do we have another uptrend to go and we'll end up maybe in the 150 range? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Hit the thumbs up button. Give the video a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys when I see you. Crypto on.